Getting it real with Wong Chun Wai on the hottest topics, frank, engaging and candid. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Rasuah, makan duit, bribery, money politics, boleh kau tim, can settle one. Call it by any name, but corruption in Malaysia has reached a serious stage. Malaysia has gone from bad to worse. That's the perception. Internationally, we have a notorious corrupt image because of the 1MDB issue. Joining us tonight is outspoken businessman Dato' Amil Ali Maidin, who is brave to speak up his mind, and among his most passionate topics is corruption. Welcome back, Dato' Maidin. Now, it's good to see you again. I don't think it's too late to wish you a Happy New Year, and that it looks like an exciting year ahead, Dato'.
Yes. Better not be another virus attack.
Virus attack of another kind. So, Dato', we have a question for you to start this conversation. How bad is our corruption level? Are we at the pandemic level? Or are we at the endemic level that Malaysians need booster shots to face the problem of corruption in this country? Your take, sir.
You know, sometimes when everybody talks about it, then we feel it's endemic. You know, I would not be surprised, seriously, that corruption, I think we all know, has always been there. You know, I mean, it's all over the world, all over the world, right? But social media has brought it to the forefront, and it's for the better. It's for the better. Yeah. It's for the better. I think the most important thing here is that in Malaysia, it's good that it's coming to the forefront. Yeah. That people are not kind of putting it under the carpet and say let's not talk about it. We are talking about it. I think by just talking about it, we know that people are brave enough to talk about it, and I think we can see the frustration of the people. Yeah. I mean, this frustration is everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere. And to use the word endemic, you know, I also tend to concur. I mean, we are business people. We know what's happening out there. We hear what is happening. And actually, even yesterday, I was having a conversation with somebody. They were having an event. Yeah. Having an event, and you know, we happened to bump into the event and says, you know, hey, you're having an event, you're following all the SOPs, right? They said, yeah, we're following all the SOPs. But unfortunately, even following all the SOPs, somebody will walk in. And obviously, when you're having an event, they're not going to be one, you know, the SOPs are 1.5 meter apart, you know. In which event, you can be wearing full mask, where you're going to be 1.5 meter apart. I mean, even when you see our honorable prime minister or ministers doing visits anywhere, they are not 1.5 meters apart. They don't get fined. But enforcement agency, unfortunately, tend to, I mean, if you're going to just find them, I'm okay with it. You know, I mean, if you make a mistake, you find them. But use this as a threat and also cari duit kopi lah. In our Malaysian way, duit kopi, you see? So you know, the word duit kopi itself is very significant in the sense that it is meant only for the coffee, not for the condo. You see? So we used to tolerate this kind of thing because it says duit kopi. Is it the guy give him $10 lah? You can the poor guy let him buy coffee lah. You know, it's duit kopi what. But now they say duit condo, you know. So I think it's bad. It is really bad. It's really bad. But I think the most important thing is we must be the change you wish, you know. We must be the change you wish to see in the world. I think that's very important. So if we want to do something about it, we can do it. We can do it.
Dato', you know that you mentioned about duit kopi and that it is prevalent. Yes, corruption has been here for a long time. I think the magnitude of it has changed. Previously it was duit kopi, 10 ringgit, 10 ringgit. Macam mana mau settle traffic police macam mana mau settle, okay? But of course, one MDB changes everything. This was the corruption of the biggest magnitude. And of course, Malaysia became a social pariah. That's the reality. We are looked upon differently. When we go overseas, we cringe in embarrassment where people ask you, where are you from? And we say we are from Malaysia. And they say, oh, one MDB. And this is real. This is something that I had faced. So everything changes. And of course, social media amplified the thing. Now, everybody talks about it, but still not many people are willing to push that limit, especially for businessmen. They feel that, look, I better not earn the wrath of the powers, the powerful people, that I could be blacklisted and I cannot do business anymore. I could get into trouble. They could go after me. But why do you, as a businessman, dare to speak up openly and very critically about it?
I don't have any government contract. I'm not beholden to anybody, right? I mean, my deal for whatever it is, we have worked very hard. We have come up the hard way. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't get any business from the government. I mean, even during the floods, a lot of NGOs, government agencies buy from us, But we don't go out of the way. I mean, we give competitive pricing, excellent service, but I have no government contract. Seriously, no government contract. And I've never been beholden, and I don't want to be beholden to any government agencies for that matter, for anybody. But that alone itself gives you that flexibility to be able to say what you want to say. I mean, many of our Tan Sri, in their heart, they could be burning in there, but obviously they can't say much because, they have this contract, that contract, and I think whatnot. So sometimes it's easy to stand with the crowd, but it takes courage to stand alone. And I think all the Malaysians should do that. All Malaysians must do that. I think I can tell you a story. Just before the last election, just before the election, all right, this corruption thing came up again, I think it was really magnified. I happened to be interviewed, and I did mention during that time, I said, why are we so this thing about it? We can't take this money with us when we go, We only have our reputation to be left behind, And should we not really look at ourselves? Why are we doing all this? And this thing went viral. And I got a call from somebody up, very, very up. Hey, I'm telling you, a phone call from that guy who has never spoken to me before.
No.
I mean, we know each other, but high enough up there, I can't mention them, obviously. High enough, highest, almost there. He said, hey, you're a bit too loud nowadays, huh? I think you better keep your tone down. But I said, Dato, I don't want to say what, so that He said, but what did I say that was wrong? I said, I'm not aiming at you, I'm just making a comment which I meant for the country. I think this is bad. Everybody, is doing this. It seems, it becomes that everybody does it kind of thing. And I was just telling people that you're not going, and all of us agree, when we go back up there, we are going with our soul and nothing else with us. So what is there to bring? I mean, I think as we grow older, of course, we get wiser, right? Yeah. And now all of us only, I think both of us say, help, money, no money, help. I mean, that is, of course, when you're getting older and wiser, but I think even the young people, many young people nowadays are very, very idealistic. Maybe a bit too idealistic, but idealistic, and I think it's very important. I think courage, and I wish more businessmen will actually speak up, because we are the one who can really make real changes. I mean, the next kid on the block can make a lot of noise, but then sometimes he doesn't have the influence out there. So we so-called the bigger business people or more influencer, on my TikTok, if I can influence people to say that this is something seriously wrong, I think that is very important.
You know, Dato', not everybody has that kind of courage. I think for a businessman to receive a call from higher up, obviously that most people will be quite shaken to get a call to tell you that don't cross the line. You have gone too far. Stop it. I think most people will be quite disturbed and shaken. But the reality is on the ground, the grumbling has become very loud. If the leaders do not hear it, then they are cut away from the reality on the ground. It has become very loud. And of course, thanks to social media, you mentioned that young people are speaking up. If we look through our Twitter, our WhatsApp, everything, every day we bombarded with people who show their face. They're not afraid. They put on their face, they mention their name, and they question the authority, something that we have never seen before. We are both of us in our 60s. We have never seen this before. Why do you think that the grumbling has become so loud that people are dare to speak up and to question the authority? In the past, no one would dare to do so.
You know, I think people are getting a bit daring. I mean, there's no question because social media helps. But unfortunately, where are the bigger people? I think that is what is missing. We hear a lot of rumblings on the ground. Fair enough. Have we heard big artists talk about it? You know, the names of the industry. Have we had ministers talk about it? Why are they not talking about it? Why are they not saying this is wrong? Opposition, some members talk about it when they are in the opposition, but they didn't talk about it when in the government. So I see, unfortunately, but I think we're getting something wrong here. You know, I think the wrong thing is that if you think after the next election, corruption is going to go away, we are all wrong.
Yeah.
We are all very naive.
Yeah.
We would think so. Because corruption is not only there.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, I don't want to say this, but it's the policeman on the street, maybe, it's your bomba, it's your PBT, you know, it is everywhere. Yeah. You know, election is not going to change, but the only difference it will be that they say the fish rots from the head, you know. So from the top, if the leadership shows clarity in terms of transparency, you know, I mean, you lead by example. So if you say, I will not do this, you know, whatever it may be, then the people down there will be more scared, you know. Yeah. But if somebody up there says, I'm untouchable, then the guy below there says, hey, the boss is doing it, you know.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, I think this is very important because yeah. I think this is one thing I tell my staff. You know, whenever, I mean, obviously in an organization like mine, we employ 6,000 people, you know, but yeah. Whenever I'm being introduced to somebody who comes, first time I'm seeing the person, I say, hi, and, you know, of course, the only thing I tell them is that make all the mistakes you want. I will forgive you. You know, because without making mistakes, we are not going to grow. We are in business, you know, we yeah. have to take risks, I say.
Yes.
So make the mistake, take the risk. And if it's going to cost us $1 million, I will forgive you because you're taking a risk. You take $1 from me, and I will never halalkan. I think you know that word halalkan is a very powerful word for a Muslim, and even I'm sure for the others in their own way. I say I will never halalkan. And you know, we all believe that if you take from somebody, if that person doesn't halalkan, even God cannot forgive you. See, that is so powerful that you have to forgive. You must get forgiveness from the person you have taken from, you see. So whenever even my staff leave me, I say, thank you very much. You know, anything you have made a mistake, don't worry about it. You say, if you ever they shake my, I say, Dato' halal. I say, I tak halalkan kalau you ambil yang what is not yours. No? So I think this is important. And I think you heard about the Taman Sri Muda thing, you know, what happened to the shop there. Yes. Yeah. And I think it was the same powerful message saying that if you have taken, because you are hungry, you are taking a microwave to sell, to get money to feed yourself, I forgive you. You know, I think many of us need that forgiveness sometimes, you know. But if you're taking something from me and, you know, you're going to sell it off, you're a syndicate, God forbid, I'm not forgiving you. I think that is important.
So, Dato', how much did you lose from the looting, stealing, or whatever you call it at the flats from your supermarket?
Unfortunate. I mean, of course, I get comments from people. Oh, Dato', you make a big thing out of it, but you're fully insured and all that. I'm insured against flooding.
Yeah.
So whatever, I mean, got wet, I'm sure insurance being the most difficult people to pay, they're
Yeah.
always knocking at the door, but now they don't seem to be around. but I'm sure, what you can prove they will pay. But for the looting, at any businessman, you don't expect your shop to be looted for $2-3 million. So our insurance always on the first loss basis, right? So the first 200,000 of looting, I'm covered lah. But I think I've lost more than 2.5 million.
Wow.
Because they took everything. I feel that people have gone way and above what they should have.
Yeah.
And they went in with sticks and with parang and all that.
Yeah.
And even people tell me, are you forgiving the looters? Mind you, I'm not forgiving the looters.
Yeah.
I'm forgiving people who took it because they were hungry. I even forgive the lady who took the microwave, for example. I mean, you know, such a thing. Only if she's taking the microwave to cook something in her house. And she has no other way to cook it. Or to sell the microwave to get the money to feed her family or feed a friend. I think that distinction is very, very important.
Yeah. Although, coming back to corruption again, now, you mentioned just now that there is a deafening silence from political leaders. It doesn't matter what side they have been on. Most businessmen and most media people have heard a lot of stories, and they have become very cynical that actually there are very few honest politicians. It doesn't matter what side they're on. We hear, well, there's no evidence. Nobody's making report, but we hear a lot of stories, okay? And KL is a very small town. Why do you think that there's a trust and confidence deficit in Malaysia now? That the rakyat feels that, sama lah, no, nothing will change lah. It doesn't matter whether you have a PRU 15 ke, 15 ke, 16 ke, nothing will ever change because we as a rakyat is so hopeless and helpless because there's nothing we can really do. Because to go into politics, you need money. And politicians will tell you that, look, hey, come on, Chunoy, look, we need money to pay for machinery. We need money to pay for the workers, and that it's not enough. Our MP's allowance is chicken feed. Like, come on, no? How can you run an election with no money? Okay, so that kind of argument perpetuates. Okay, but why is there now a lack of confidence of leaders of all kinds?
No, I think all of us understand that money is required for election. There's no question. I mean, even the US, they sell dinner plates, for $100,000 a plate or whatever. But I think our issue in Malaysia, which I think the government promised to change, is to clean up the so-called political contribution and make it more transparent. I think this is the first step. But I still don't know why it's still not been done. Why is something so simple enacted into a law? Political contribution should be transparent. You open an account. Obviously, when you give political contribution to anybody, they will get naughty. Some they will use for political contribution, and some they will use to buy handbags or another car or something like that. And obviously, you can see how people are so rich. I mean, it doesn't make sense that, you are a civil servant or even a minister. How can you have so much money, So that part has to change, the so-called political contribution. But I want to go back. I'm telling you, it is not only, politicians is bad enough, but they are not the only one. I think that is more worrying. And what we need to do here is we need to make processes very, very transparent. You see, if you remember those days, to get your passport, you got to pay, You got to pay to get your passport, You just cannot walk in and get your passport. It takes you months to get your passport. To get a driving license, you have to pay. But now, you don't. None of us think of paying to get a passport. We just go there. The last I had to renew my passport, 2 hours. Who will anybody want to pay anybody? It takes hardly 2 hours to get a passport. So everything has to be done that way. Automated. Technology is there. We talk about one-stop center, especially, one of the most corrupted areas, businesses, is construction. We have 12, it's not one stop, there are 12 stops. So the government says, this is not good, I'm going to make a one-stop center. You know what happened? It's now 13 stops. So, and I'm telling you, it is so bad out there. You cannot get any file to move at all, and anywhere, you know. So the more we make it transparent, I think Mampu is trying to do what they can. Our MPC and Mampu are trying to automate things, but the people who are stopping it is ourselves.
Yeah.
You look at our so-called foreign labor policy. The wrong people get the permit. Until now, no permit. Another study happening. Cannot get workers. So when people get desperate, people pay. When you were desperate for your passport many years ago, just pay lah, But now you are desperate, you just run up there in 2 hours, you get your passport, you see. So I think this is the issue. This is the bigger issue, In the country, we really have to make everything automated,
yes,
and make it go through and make it transparent. Then you will cut down on corruption. I think this is important. Forget the politicians. Politicians are not going to change.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, the one thing we can do, please lah, don't. Whoever is above 50, forget them. You know why? Forget them. I mean, it's okay. They have done. I'm not saying they are bad. Yeah. Okay. I mean, not all are bad. I mean, we are above 50 ourselves. I mean, I don't claim that we are bad. But hey, let the younger generation know. We grew our business when we were 40.
Yeah.
Not when we were 65. Okay, some people have done it. I mean, our KFC guys have done it with 85. But most of us, in our 35, 40, when we were the fastest growing, and then we grew. Mydin grew when I was 40 something. So I think the country can be driven by the so-called. I mean, I wouldn't go for the 25 years so seriously. No doubt, they will be very idealistic, but they wouldn't have that so-called experience. You balance it out. Let's go for the 40, for the 50s.
Correct.
Anybody above 50, if they stand for election, don't vote them in. Seriously, why? Don't tell me you need a 75 or 98-year-old man anymore. Seriously, I mean, with due respect to Tun and everybody, I mean, I was one of the proudest moment in life, I mean, the last election. And like you say, when we go to other countries, now we say, Malaysia, you tend to say, But those days when Tun's time, we proudly say, hey, I'm from Malaysia. It's, oh, Mahathir ka. It's even so proud of the country, I mean, it will come back. We have to fall down really to make it come back. But, let's do it now. Let's do it now. I mean, election is one way of doing it, but there's so many other things that needs to be done.
So, Dato', as you mentioned, that a lot of us complain about corruption. Obviously, one of the most practical thing to do and answer will be, of course, to remove the layers of bureaucracy. The more layers, 13, 14, that's when there's human contact. By having digitalization, that you want to apply for anything, there's no human contact. There's no chance for bribery, but everything is done with a standard procedure on the computer. That's what it should be. And I think that if you really want to move on, then it should have this kind of computerization. In Singapore, I mean, I know that politicians do not want to hear every time we make a comparison with Singapore, but that's the reality. You don't have to meet anybody. If something needs to be done in 3 days, it's 3 days. If 3 weeks, 3 weeks. It's when the delay happens, when the file goes missing, the top file goes to the bottom, that's when businessman gets agitated because there's a cost to doing business. That's when they want to take a shortcut, and that's when things happen. And coming back to that, suddenly nobody's talking about anti-hopping law anymore. Sudah jadi like disappeared. There was a lot of hoo-ha, anti-hopping, no crossover, and then it just disappeared. That is the reality in Malaysia. Now I want to talk about the factually. Okay, how bad Malaysia has become. It has been reported that Malaysia lost RM 47 billion in GDP value in 2017. We have been losing about 4% of GDP annually since 2013. And of course, the perception level, we have also dropped. The Transparency International 2020 Corruption Index ranks Malaysia at 57 out of 180. So we have keep on following. Now, what other suggestions can you make on beside this reducing human meetings to eradicate corruption? How should Malaysians, what can we do as a country and as people to end this or to reduce this?
I think we should not stop talking about it. Mm-hmm. I think that is very, very important. And of course, media plays a very important part of it. I mean, media actually can do a lot of things. I'm sometimes even disappointed that the Star doesn't report enough. I mean, you are from the Star, or who are from the Star. And I say, come on, you should be reporting this. And sometimes even the Star itself, I think the most widely circulated paper sometimes doesn't report. It report by a small column, when it should be the headline, So I think media, it is very important that you put it in the forefront, but be clear about it, be clear about it. I mean, let's not side. I mean, of course, a lot of people take stand, but, obviously, if you take too strong a stand, people stop reading you.
Yeah.
Like how some of us have stopped reading some newspapers because, come on, this guy, we don't supporting this guy, so I think I'm not going to read the paper anymore, right? So I think media, and of course now we got social media, plays one of the most important role about it. And we must make sure that there is always freedom for the media to report. If anybody, I mean, we read somewhere the so-called the ministry was trying to get the social media to not report certain things, So I think this is where we must stop. But of course, there must be responsible media. There are a lot of irresponsible media going around.
Yes.
So it's very important. We got responsible media reporting when things happen, and no cover up from the media. No cover up. And it would be very good if media actually go back to history and keep reporting to say, we say kita cepat lupa, kita cepat lupa. But media, you have your record everywhere. Go back and say, hey, this was being investigated, what happened? This was being investigated, what happened? You keep harping on this, people get scared. And that is the fear. We want to instill fear of people, fear in do not take money, fear of corruption. I mean, that is the fear. Like we say, fear of God. Many of us, we have this fear of God, the fear of the Almighty, whatever religion you are in, Say, no. God will never forgive me for this, And I think, I cannot understand how people can say, God will not forgive me for this, but corruption is okay. I mean, I've got instances, I've seen people, I tell you one true story. I caught somebody stealing actually in my shop, I caught somebody stealing. I said, it's fasting month. Are you fasting? The guy says, yeah, I'm fasting. But I said, why are you fasting? Why are you fasting? You stole things from me. Automatically, if you understand your religion well enough, your fast is not valid. So he has got this thing about, I must fast, just like I think some people tend to go from moderate to extreme. I must do this, but that part is okay. Stealing from people, I mean, corruption is basically stealing, right? But remember this corruption is, of course, two ways. I am telling you, the businessmen are the worst of the lot, okay? All right? Because you don't give, then people cannot take. I'm not saying one is wrong or the other. Both are equally wrong, and both of us must take the responsibility.
Yeah.
Stop blaming people, I couldn't do this, so I had to pay this, I had to pay this. But hey, you are encouraging it. But I also understand, the project had been delayed for 2 years. That's because the file keep disappearing. At the end of the day, you say, I won't do it, but you tell the contractor, hey, you sort it out lah. You are the contractor, right? Unfortunately.
So there's always the giver as well. I mean, not just the taker. The giver has to be responsible for this corruption thing. That you mentioned that the fear of being involved in corruption. Have we come to this point that people feel that, there's nothing to be ashamed of? Apa nak malu? That everybody takes it, top leaders take it. And if my boss in the top take it, I'm just taking 50 ringgit to pay for the McDonald's for my kids this weekend. So, apa salah? Have we come to that level where nobody feels guilty? Nobody feels malu?
we have always believed in our justice system.
Yeah.
I mean, end of the day, we say, I see you in court, lah, because we say, end of the day, the judges will do the correct judgment. They will be fair, But I think even that part, that integrity, it is now being questioned. You see, I think this is the worry. We have the government, the people, and the justice. I mean, we have always said that Malaysia. I always say, if worst come to worst, you go to court. The court will always support the right person, unless you get the wrong lawyer, lah. But at the end of the day, the courts. But now even that is being questioned. The AG is being questioned. AGs. You imagine the AGs are being changed each time a new political party walks in. You see? I mean, it doesn't make sense. The guy is supposed to keep law and order. Make sure people. So it's somehow is that what you want to do? The minute you're walking, you change the AG. The minute AG is supposed to be doing what. So I mean, the appointment of AG also should not be up to the government, lah. Something wrong somewhere, lah. I think this is where the problem is. I think if you have a proper justice system, then the trust deficit will go down. You said nope, he'll be charged in court, and the court has released him. Then we say then maybe we were all wrong, because at the end of the day, justice is there. But justice delayed is also justice denied, lah. We see people walking around for years. I mean, people carrying boxes, having neck problems. So so all these kind of things. I mean, seriously, justice must not be delayed. I mean, whoever is out there, I think it's our responsibility, it's the judge's responsibility to push this truth fast, especially the more hot cases, which are in public review. So at least that kind of thing gives some kind of a signal to the people that something is actually right down there, or up there.
So at this level, I want to mention something that despite the cynicism about our judiciary system, I think that we must salute and remember those judges who have put on their foot down at the what do you call it, the High Court, at the Court of Appeals. They have put their foot down to say nope. There's a case, there's corruption, and that they have come up with a very fast judgment, very strong judgment, I must say. And I think that would have renewed a lot of hopes for Malaysians. And it takes a lot of courage for these judges to do so. And I must salute them for that.
I agree, because that's what I'm trying to say. That at the end of the day, we have always hoped that the justice, the justice will be there. So I think I agree with you. I mean, salute, hands off to those judges, I mean, at the end of the day, they could be walking out there and putting their life at risk, seriously, when you make those kind of judgmental calls or those kind of decisions, I mean, we have to definitely salute those people. And I wish and pray that all of them are like that, that they have all that courage. And let's all support them, make sure that they get our support. And you know what? They also get our dua and our prayers, that they get good health and they can perform as well as they want to. I think this is very, very important. I agree with them. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I have full respect. That's my point. I say, I know that is our last avenue, they say, end of the day, you run to your parent, mama, help me, kind of thing, end of the day, that is the last place to go for all of us.
Dato', for the first time, I think the khutbah at the masjid in 2 states recently, for the first time, they spoke about, I think it was in Perak and in Johor, they spoke about the question of corruption. Very rarely do khutbah on a Friday talk about corruption. Many people felt that it was really good and it was necessary for the mosques, places of worship, even not just mosques, but in the churches, for these sermons to talk about corruption. What was your feel about it when you hear that in mosque now that it's been talked about to fight against corruption?
When you hear the khutbah, many times they talk about good things. I mean, they tell the khutbahs are normally what we as mortals should do for the better so that when we go up there, you know, we have got enough stars, enough points to go to heaven,
Yeah.
which we all always pray for. You know, I mean, I think it is everyone's wish. All right, and of course, when it's being said about corruption and so blatantly said so, you know, I think this is a message given out, because sometimes, you know, it's like this lah. Your parents tell you something, you tend not to listen. But your teachers, when they tell you something, you tend to listen, because you've been always taught that they are your teachers. You see? So even in our mall, I'm sure in the church that you go to, you know, when you hear a sermon like that, you almost feel like saying, these are God's words. You know, God is passing a message through this man in front of you, telling us what we mortals should or should not do. You know, and I agree that I'm very happy that even the religious department, you know, has taken forth that something is wrong, and I'm very sure the guardian of Islam, I mean our sultans here, might be equally upset that being also giving the permission for such things to be held, you know, at the end of the day. So he has even got to that level that even our sultan, I think we know, I mean Raja Nazrin, he speaks very clearly, he articulates it out very well. And I hope that all of them together will say the same thing, you know, give the same message. I mean, not saying that any one of them will say yes to corruption, but you know, sometimes, you know, it's not only what you do, but you must be seen to be doing it. You know, it is very important. It's the same thing, you know. I mean, what we do as leaders in our country, you must also be seen to be doing the correct thing. And I think the sermon is a good first step, and I hope our churches, our temples, and you know, wherever we have, even our NGOs, or you know, all our other bodies that we have there, pass that same message out there. You will get to the older generation, and hopefully to the younger generation. You know, that's more important.
So recently there was a professor who brought up the question of hypocrisy in Malay politics. And he has been speaking about it, about corruption, the politics, you know, and that, you know, in Malaysia, a lot of us talks about it, okay, that Malaysia is increasingly conservative country, is becoming religious. There's a lot of debate about halal, haram, aurat, and everything. And yet, ironically, it has become more corrupt. So it doesn't correspond. You're religious at the same time, you're very corrupt at the same time. I mean, if a country, if its people has become more religious, we will expect less corruption. Okay, what is your take on this as a Muslim?
You know, I mean, as a Muslim, or for the matter, I'm sure all religion teaches the same thing. You know, what is right and what is wrong. You know, you hear more in Malaysia. Obviously, the Muslim form the majority of the population. So you find the poorest, highest numbers will be the Muslims. You know, the so-called, if we say 10 people are caught for corruption, obviously 7 will be Muslim, because that is the number of population, you know. I'm telling you very, very clearly, I'm not denying that, you know, but you know what, equally, the corruption is not only in the government, in the corporate sector, is equally bad. You know, I get, when my buyers, they can be Malay, Chinese, or Indian, you know, I mean, they get caught for taking money to buy things from certain suppliers. I mean, if that's not corruption, what is? You know, even in Maidin, we have corruption. So me as a leader, I'm also ashamed to say that even my staff, you know, but it happened. But we hope that it's small. It's just a nip, you know. It's not too big. Unfortunately, in Malaysia, it's becoming too big, and people don't talk about duit kopi anymore. You know, like I say, duit kondo, right? With millions and billions. And you are right. One MDB has put corruption above another level. Unfortunately, we are alive to see all this happening during our time. It's unfortunate.
If you look at the Securities Commission, the large number of CEOs who have disappeared because they have cheated their companies, they have provided fake information which has affected the shareholders. Many of these are non-Muslims, and that, as you say, that the private sector is just as guilty or equally responsible when it comes to corruption at that level. So it has gone through all levels of Malaysia, regardless of their race. One question before we end this is that what kind of MACC would you want it to be? As a body, as an agency that investigates corruption, it needs to be whiter than white, whether like it or not. But what kind of body, as an agency, would you want the MACC to perform or to show to Malaysians?
You know, there's seriously nothing wrong with MACC. You know, I mean, you see, as an organization, they've done a lot of good things. Let's not forget that. I mean, let's not forget that. They've got a lot of people, they've caught a lot of people. Something has gone wrong somewhere. And we are not here to judge on who is wrong or who's right, because we don't have enough information.
Sure.
You know, I mean, information coming bits and pieces, you know, and I'm not here to judge people on that, okay? Unfortunately, I mean, the person is the highest level, you know. But you know, there could be enemies behind doing it, and we don't know because, hey, I mean, you know, you are the guy top there. You probably are the one catching and giving instruction, do this, and do that. I mean, you will be the first one people will target. So I just hope, deep in my heart, that that is the case. It's just that the person, you know, is being targeted because why? Because he's an honest man. I hope that is the truth. I mean, the rest, of course, we leave it for investigation. But the right thing to do probably in a country like this is that you say that if I'm being investigated, that I probably take leave. Let investigation go through. Let it be done quickly, because I got a job to do, you know. Please do it. I'm very transparent, you know. I mean, I think I heard you say, come, I'm open to questions. You know, I hope that he means what he said. I full respect for the guy, because we heard a lot of good things about him. Yep. I mean, we got a lot of good things about him. So, you know, sometimes small things like this happen. I'm not saying it's small, okay? I'm saying things like this. So we tend to question sometimes. I think we must not be very judgmental. We must question why suddenly was he investigating a very big case and this is happening, or this is actually happened. It's a very unfortunate incident. Then the person just have to come down and resign and face the consequences, you know. I mean, I would say you have wronged your wife, and you admit that you have wronged your wife. Admit it, you know, and I get end of the day up there and ask for forgiveness from God. I mean, you know, I mean, if you have wrong, then you have wrong. And you have not wrong, then come up front and say, I'm open. I will move for 2 months. Please get it done quickly because I got a job to do. And I think our system is there. Our system is there. I mean, we must not judge people like that. Correct. I think that is wrong to judge. No?
Thank you, Dato', for joining this conversation. Malaysia needs a discourse of this nature, fair, objective, rational, and not judgmental. And that Malaysia needs to come together to speak their mind. Do not be afraid, but do it in a civil and a rational manner. On that score, thank you for joining us, and to all Malaysians and followers around the world, thank you. Please join us again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.